podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for frame rate is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Frame Rate is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 1 million high-quality video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code FrameRate7. And by ProXPN. ProXPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymous and unfiltered. For 20% off your new account, go to ProXPN.com/twit and use the code FR20.
I take it back. Keep going. Keep letting it go.
Soak it in. Is that fake slow-mo? All right, I'm going.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Frame Rate. Welcome to Frame Rate, episode 132, the show that thinks you should be able to watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, on whatever damn device you choose, and aims to give you the tools to do it. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, I'm Brian Brushwood, and that was they did not lie. That was the best, worst movie death scene I've ever seen. We weren't even able to finish it, man. We had to cry uncle.
You talk about the two types of things on YouTube. There's the highly polished, highly produced things. We'll talk about those later in the show. There's the, on your phone, cat video things. But there's a third category, and that falls in that category right there, which is clips from crazy stuff.
It's just that magic. It's that found gold, and it's a transformative moment. Like whatever, that was probably like an actual moment that meant something when the movie came out. But now standing alone, it just is something utterly different. I love the transformative remix culture that we live in, man.
No, me too. Absolutely. Hey, thanks to all the folks who filled in last week and a few weeks back. I'm back now for the foreseeable future, Brian. I hope you
even
don't
though
have
it doesn't sound like you. A bunch of people were saying, looks like Tom Merritt.
Do you like
sound
the new
like
voice?
Tom Merritt.
I picked this up in the islands.
Yeah.
It's French.
It does. It sounds fresh. You sound well rested, Tom. Do you think it's time to just dive right into the big story?
Let's do it.
This just in, the big story.
Well. All the suitors come a-knocking to Hulu, and guess what they say? None of you get the rose. We're keeping it.
Never mind, backsies. See, You know what? This makes me think that like the whole news cycle was designed to punk me trying to fill your shoes while you were out of town. Because that's all we talked about was who's going to buy Hulu, the belle of the ball, and then just backsies. And then on top of that, they're going to invest almost $1 billion on top of it.
Yeah, no, $750 million will be invested in Hulu. Now, that's just a one-time fund, according to All Things D. And you compare that to the $1 billion a year Amazon is spending on programming and the $2 billion a year Netflix is spending on programming. It don't look like that much. But essentially what Hulu said was, we got some pretty nice offers, but none of them were compelling. And we're aligned now. We're Bob Iger from Disney and Chase from Fox are said we know where we're going with this, and we decided, we saw the value, we're going to keep it.
Okay, so and they did elaborate. They did say that they're going to focus on their premium content, what you're going to get for $8 a month. And previously we had reported how one camp really wanted everything to be free, paid with ads. The other camp wanted it to be, $8 a month. But so it sounds like for sure we're still going to have the worst of both worlds, and that we're going to have ads and be paying $8 a month for Hulu Plus.
Well, if anything, it sounds like they might go to just subscription and not have the free stuff anymore. eventually. But for now, they're going to have both. You're right.
I kind of wouldn't mind that. If they would have a clarity of vision and be able to say in one sentence what you can expect to use Hulu for and what you would get out of it, that would be better. But like Hulu is such an amorphous cloud of suck right now. I just don't even know. I don't know why anyone is using it or why I should go to it at this point.
Yeah, Chase Carey said, we believe the best path forward for Hulu is a meaningful recapitalization. Isn't that enough for you? Doesn't that tell you everything?
That's the other thing. And you know I'm lousy about translating business speak to begin with, but like I thought this was there's some extraordinarily good BS talk. I can't even make heads or tails for it.
Yeah, no, the Chase Carey said things like, we had meaningful conversations with the buyers. We really liked our dates with them. They were nice people, but we decided to stick with what we got right now. Bob Iger was out there talking as well, saying pretty much similar things in fewer words. But Time Warner, apparently, according to Bloomberg, is still in the mix. Time Warner wanted to go in on a bid and get a stake in Hulu, and apparently they're still talking to Disney and Fox at this point, saying, hey, can we still buy a stake? We'd like to join the party.
Well, that's good, because if there's one thing Hulu definitely needs, it's another cook in that kitchen. I mean, that's the weird part, too, is there's no clear whatever. But I do think this is a smart play for Time Warner. I think what Time Warner is doing is positioning itself to remain relevant as the validator, the gatekeeper to get you into all the content systems. Just prove you're a Time Warner cable subscriber, and then you get into the magical wonderland where you really can watch a certain amount of the programming you want at times when you want it. And I think this would be a good play for them to have a piece of Hulu if it's the kind of thing where they didn't want to own it outright and they weren't going to get because the whole reason this broke down, as you predicted, was that you needed, all anybody really wanted was guarantees for the content. And it sounds like Hulu was not able to guarantee that to anyone. And that's the big reason everything broke down.
And therefore, nobody would give the amount of money to Hulu that Hulu wanted. Hulu's seeing the valuation on Netflix, which is what? Something like $12 billion. And everybody's like, yeah, we'll give you $1 billion for Hulu.
Right.
Right. So here's the quote I was looking for earlier from Bob Iger. Throughout the process, we continued to give consideration to strategic value of Hulu and to investment value longer term. In other words, we constantly had second thoughts about how much this stuff was worth. Then, the interest of News Corp and Disney galvanized during the process about that, and we concluded that even though we had some compelling offers on the table, the future of Hulu is bright and we should hang on to it. In other words, Disney and News Corp looked at each other and said, that's all we can get for it? Well, we might as well just keep it and try to like remodel, put in some new countertops or something and make this thing look prettier and maybe sell it again a couple of years down the road.
Where do you think Hulu goes from here? Is this the lightning rod that galvanizes everything and gives them a direction, or is it? Do we just I'll tell you mine. I think that we just continue to see more of this crazy schizophrenic talk. Hulu is the relationships of these companies made manifest in physical form, so it will be just as crazy as the nature of the entire business, only only just very loudly and in public, and people like you and me are just going to get more and more annoyed. While meanwhile, Netflix and I suspect HBO will continue to build its brand. Somebody was saying something. Never mind. Forget about the HBO thing. We'll come back to that later. I think that everyone is finding their voice except for Hulu, and it's not getting any better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like this is a loss for the consumers. It may be the right thing for Disney and Fox, but it's a loss for the consumers that Hulu is not going to be put in someone's hands who cares about actually making a really good online video service. Because what the networks want is a way to stop you from using other things. They want to stop you from piracy. They want to stop you from YouTube. That's what it was created for. They want to stop you from going to other things. They want you to stay with them and help them make the transition. If Time Warner Cable were to get in on this, I think that could push Hulu down a good road, which is Hulu could become a TV Everywhere app where you authenticate with Hulu based on your cable subscription, and then you get access to a world of online video content. That's not a bad way to go. That's kind of what DirecTV wanted to do. It's kind of what Dish wanted to do. I don't think if they keep it just News Corp, sorry, not News Corp, but 21st Century Fox now, and Disney with Comcast, the silent partner that can't talk. I think they continue to just eat themselves. They're at cross purposes. They created Hulu out of vengeance, and it's gotten too successful, and now they fear their own creation. And so I think they continue to put the reins on it, and it won't grow into something that the consumers love because they're not doing it for the people using it. They're doing it for themselves.
Right. Correct. And actually, breaking news, I actually have Hulu on the line with the statement. Let's hear it. So apparently Hulu agrees with you, Tom.
It's kind of, yeah, actually that's metaphorical, isn't it? The first shot was when they tried to sell it the first time. The second shot's the second time. Maybe a third shot coming down.
Sorry, I'm just going to keep playing it.
All right, let's move along to another big story then.
Stop everything. It's another big story.
No, I mean, seriously, stop everything, because it turns out you get your news from television before anywhere else. So according to a Gallup poll, 55% of those surveyed by the polling firm mentioned TV news as their top source of news. Second was the internet. Third was print, then poor radio down there at the bottom. That's kind of sad for me. I don't fall into it this particular way, but apparently when people want to know what's going on, they still turn on the TV.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. I would probably fall into the category, but not on purpose, by which I mean, I cut the cord, so I don't have any 24-hour cable news stations. I don't ever, when something's happening, get up and go to the living room and turn on the television to find out what's going on. However, institutionally, every time I go to the gym, that's what's on, and you can't help but see the ticker happening. And so like half the stuff, I don't get caught up in a lot of sensational cases. So it's like, the Zimmerman trial, I guess had a verdict, but I only know it because of
Google
News.
Twitter.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly, for Twitter and Google News, but I also would have seen it on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC while I'm over at the treadmill or whatever. So it's like I don't know if that.
Okay.
I don't know if I believe it. Like if I was reporting, I would have to say I hear a lot of this crap because of cable television news, but I don't even have cable, and I certainly don't watch 24-hour cable TV news.
I think it's probably true. I think it's probably true, even for the 18 to 29-year-olds who said 50% television versus 27% internet, that people, when they think of news, right, they don't think they're going online and they're reading Twitter and they're reading Facebook. They're not thinking of that as news. They're thinking, oh, news, yes. You mean the guy sitting behind the desk reading the news to me? Yes, I get that on television. What I think is interesting is I still turn to video, streaming video, be it cable television, over the air, or online, for breaking news, for events happening now. It does seem to be the best venue for that. But I'm continually experimenting with the BBC app on Roku or the Sky News app that is now on Apple TV, because I'd rather get it from there than any of the current offerings in the United States.
Yeah. No, I could totally see all of that. To me, the most interesting part of this article was talking about the age disparity between people who get more of their information from the internet versus not television, but print media. What was it? Yeah. Over age 65, you're looking at 18%. How much? Yeah, like 20%. That's amazing. Like day-old news is when they find out. I mean, I guess if you did it your whole life, you get used to that. We're going to continue to see this shift. This isn't by any stretch the end of the discussion. I think we are surprised that, I don't know, why do we keep getting fooled on this, Tom? Because we should know, as big as this bubble is that we're in, we're sitting in our little tiny cord-cutting magical internet bubble, and we look around and we're like, man, this place just keeps getting bigger. Look at all this room. We got to be taking over the world. And then we find out that all we've moved is from 2% of the real world to 3% of the real world.
I think that's just typical of early tech adoption. And it reminds me of the web in the early 90s. The first time I saw a URL up on a billboard, it was the University Federal Credit Union in Austin, by the way.
Oh, UFCU, sure.
UFCU.org. I was like,
Right next
What?
to AOL keyword UFCU.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Those were the days when you'd see AOL keyword before you'd ever see a URL. And so I was like, God, I do everything on the web. Why doesn't anybody? It's early adopters, and those early days of the bubble. It takes a while before it starts to gain critical mass and really accelerate, and then everybody starts to use it. Facebook and Twitter are like that now. Everybody knows Facebook and Twitter. They're on every advertisement. It wasn't like that 5 years ago. So maybe in 5 years. We'll be out of the bubble.
Can't get here fast enough.
Let's thank our sponsor, our first sponsor for today's show. This episode of Frame Rate brought to you by Shutterstock.com. Brian, do you want perfect image or video for your next creative project?
Let me tell you, man, not so good with the video, not so good with the images. If there was a way for me to pull a fast one and look like I was a pro photographer or went out and did like really good work, and I could like take credit for it, maybe even full on, hint that this is all my footage. I really went to Singapore to get this skyline. That'd be great, but it's not possible. Yeah. There's no way for me to do that.
Green screen yourself drinking a Tiger beer in front of the Singapore skyline. And I'm here right now. No, you can do that. You can totally do that with Shutterstock. They have hold on. High-quality stock video clips.
No, look, I know you could go to like Google Images and steal pictures, Tom. I'm not done. But you can't use that. You can't use it in any commercial product.
Yes, you can. That's why, because Shutterstock, you pay for the rights and then you get them. You don't have to keep paying either. You get them, you use it in your thing, and 2D, 3D, animation, motion graphics, all kinds of stuff. They're adding 10,000 video clips each week. So every time you visit, you're going to find something new. And it's from pros. This is good stuff. They actually vet every video. They look at every video and say, is this good stuff? Okay, this is good stuff. We're going to put it in there. Sophisticated research tools, man. And it's not crazy.
This is where they screw you, right? It's got to be like a super tiny selection. Probably don't have a lot to choose from.
Flexible pricing, whatever you need. You can choose between individual clips, video packs, download clips in HD, or you can buy standard definition for the web. But here's the deal. You can sign up for free. How's that sound? Just start an account. Yeah. Just start an account, begin using Shutterstock. You find that Singapore skyline clip, you put it in your clip box, and then if you decide to purchase it, you're like, no, I really need to make this video. Use the offer code FRAMERATE7, and new accounts will receive 30% off any package.
Wow. That just seems like if I that's amazing. Like if I bought $3 billion worth of photos, then I'd save almost $1 billion.
That's right. That's Shutterstock.com. And for 30% off new accounts, use offer code FRAMERATE7.
I could almost
Shutterstock for their support.
Could almost buy Hulu with that $1 billion
today.
Yes, today is the day they're supporting Frame Rate. Good point, Tom.
We've got a new segment coming up after the normal segments. So
we'll explain why, too.
Touch that mouse. Let's start off with the slipstream. AT&T and DirecTV are leading the charge to get rid of sports. Well, not get rid of sports, but make sports optional in your cable package. They're both decided not to carry CSN Houston, Comcast Sports Network Houston. Now, that's not just a fly-by-night network. They carry the Houston Rockets basketball games and the Houston Astros baseball games, and they say, nope, too expensive, not enough people watch it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're looking at the new iteration of block sales that we saw back in the early 20th century. That we've talked about this on the Master Switch, where essentially it's one side. You have to take all of our crappy networks all at once, whether you like it or not, and basically they're just saying no, not going to do it. It's not fair.
It's the providers saying, sure, people watch the NFL, we get that. They don't watch much of anything else, not in great enough numbers. And so the facade is starting to crack a little.
What did they say? There was one number that really astonished me, like as little as I'll see if I can find this number, but I know the numbers are astonishingly
4% of households tune in to watch sports outside of the NFL.
That's 4% of households tune into sports besides the NFL. That is amazing, considering that everyone has to pay and that the average, I think we did a story a while ago saying that the average cable customer spends $80 a year of their cable bills to subsidize other people's sports. And for someone like me who doesn't give a rat's behind about sports, that's a sobering number. I'm sober now because I said that number, Tom. I was drunk.
Yeah. And that was like a splash of cold coffee in your face and gullet at the same time.
It was a straight up football to the groin. That's what it was, Tom.
All kinds of people are writing about this new production facility in Los Angeles called YouTube Space LA, offering a place for YouTube creators to use high-end equipment to get technical advice from experts. That's where my wife works.
Man, it was pretty cool. I didn't get the chance to watch the whole walkthrough with Sumi Das, but was it pretty much the tour that you and I got in person?
Yes, pretty much. It is, although some of the things have changed. Essentially, what YouTube has done, and full disclosure, my wife works there, so I hope I don't sound too glowing, but they've created this huge space with big studios and green screens and production equipment. And if you have 10,000 subscribers to your channel, you can apply to go in and take a lab course and learn how to use all this equipment. And they got Ink2Me cameras. They got amazing equipment in there. They really do. It does require you to build up your audience first. It's not for everyone, but it's kind of like access cable on steroids.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what I thought of. It reminds me of access cable, but with a definite eye for quality. And the fact that there's a vetting process where it's like you have to put out consistent content. You can't be any Yahoo. But really, what they're doing is amazing to me because they aren't picking winners and losers. What they're doing is they're building an entire industry. They are fleshing out and legitimizing an entire class of media. I think by and large they're doing smart things. Like one of the things that the article mentions is that they physically make a lot of workspace because they want people to have these synergistic moments of like, oh my gosh, it's you from that show. Oh, I love you in that show. We should do a thing here. Hop on this. We're doing this in a minute. I mean, essentially they're creating a little bit. I mean, there's a reason that LA continues to be where so much of the media is made. And it's because you got all the bodies there and all the talent that they can easily bump into each other and run over and do this thing or that by creating an actual studio that in many ways is exactly the cartoon image that you would have of what a Warner Brothers cartoon studio where all the cartoons work together. Like in many ways, that's exactly what this space is like. It's magical and people really are coming all around working on all their projects simultaneously. I think what they're doing is a smart and interesting play. It's an expensive one though, man. So it's I don't know.
Because they're doing it in London, they're doing it in Tokyo. I mean, they're opening up other spaces. It's a big bet. It's a Google-sized bet to throw this much money at it and say, well, we hope this improves the quality enough that we improve the viewership enough that it pays off for selling ads. That's essentially what they want to do. They want to sell ads.
Yeah.
Aereo would like to sell subscriptions, but everybody wants to stop them. And now Hearst has got into the act. As we mentioned on previous shows, Aereo has opened up in Boston, and now WCVB, a Hearst-owned Boston television station, has decided to sue Aereo.
Now, explain to me the rationale between this. It looks to me like they're attempting to take down, a giant with a death by 1,000 cuts here, because it's like, but Aereo just keeps winning. Like all of these little lawsuits, Aereo keeps getting validated. No, it's a cloud DVR service. No, you're not retransmitting anything. You're renting a specific antenna. They've got a good case.
Brian, every judge is so objective that they always rule the same. So you take it to a different court will never get you a different result.
I guess that's the thinking behind it, which kind of bums me out if that's the whole reason. But
doesn't
each little victory bolster the case for Aereo and put them in a stronger position?
It also costs them. I mean, here's the thing. You've got CBS. You've got Fox. Now you have Hearst all throwing in. This is one station in Boston, but it's a big company that owns it. They've got big pocketbooks. They can all split up the cost of the assault while Aereo has to bear it all themselves because they're the ones being targeted.
Yeah, but I guess also, like, kind of the whole launch, when we mentioned Aereo from the beginning, it's Barry Diller money, man. And it's something that from the get-go, he knew he was going to be fighting.
Yeah.
You have to assume that he's got a sizable war chest dedicated to this. I mean, man, I don't know. It's weird. It's I don't know what they're expecting to have come of it, but
it doesn't seem weird to me. It's unfortunate, and I'm sure you're right that Barry Diller, I mean, he doesn't have an inexhaustible supply of money, but I'm sure he figured out about how much he thought this would all cost and set aside for it. Smart guy.
Right.
But yeah, this is the tactic I would take as an industry. If anything, you might say collusion, although I'm not sure it's illegal to collude to file lawsuits against something you think is pretty plainly illegal. But yeah, Aereo has won some preliminary stuff. Let's not overcharacterize how much they've won. They haven't won an actual court case yet. It's all been preliminary motions and injunctions that they've been able to fight off.
Correct. That's a good point. Now, at some point, and again, like I'm dumb of law, at some point, can't Aereo, or it would seem to me like Aereo would be able to make some kind of like, all right, can't we just combine all these into just one case? Like, is that a thing that happens in law? Or am I just making
you can do that. You can do that. That's you're getting out of my depth of the law for sure too. But I've heard.
We need to get back.
I don't know when it's a class action and when it's not, and all that sort of stuff. But they're also filing in different districts, so that's the other thing.
I learned all of my law from playing Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. So that's probably not the best. Should probably move on.
I think you passed the bar with that. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Just a couple quick ones here. Firmware update for the Slingbox 500 will now let you check out video and images in most formats from a FAT32 or NTFC drive under 3 terabytes in size. You just plug it in, and you can stream them right over the Slingbox. Little USB port on the back.
Do you need to, I guess it needs to be connected physical media. The Slingbox can't do stuff like reach out to your home network and access those files over the network.
No, it has always been able to sync media from your iOS and Android devices. But it hasn't been able to play other media unless it was parked beside your TV.
So basically, we're looking at just a USB stick solution, an easy way for you to just plug something off a thumb drive.
Yeah, it's basically like, hey, I've got these MOVs and they're not on my phone, so I want to watch them on. I have a Slingbox. There's lots of other solutions for this, but if you already have a Slingbox, you do this firmware update, then you can plug it in and play them. I
missed that. I missed the fact that it was a firmware thing, just suddenly giving you that ability. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
They also improved the Sling Sync transfer speeds, some minor bug fixes and stuff too. So if you are a Slingbox owner, you should go get that. You might be more excited about this, Mr. Cord Cutter. Channel Master and Echo Star working on a new over-the-air DVR, which I know is an issue for a lot of people. You can get a TiVo out there. Boxy is kind of resigned. They're not making the DVR over-the-air DVR box anymore. But the Channel Master K77 is in the works. An over-the-top functionality will come in 2 flavors with a 16-gigabyte built-in flash drive, which relies on USB storage, or a built-in 320-gigabyte hard drive.
Yeah, man. Well, now that I'm saving money by not having cable, now it's time for me to start spending some of the savings by getting over-the-air antennas and figuring out what DVR solution is. So certainly if anyone has an experience they want to share with us at fr@twit.tv, I'd be all ears. I did notice that, and I'll mention this with our feedback segment later, I got curious about what channels I was able to receive here locally in my area, and I went to titantv.com. And it looks like I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 12 different stations.
Oh, you just need an antenna then? Is that what you're saying? You haven't hooked up an antenna?
But also a DVR so that, because again, like my kids don't understand the idea of appointment programming. The idea that like, well, why can't I watch this right now? They're like, well, it's not on right now. And they're like, what does that mean? And then they throw something at me and they're like, go back to the 1980s, Dad.
You need to go to antennaweb.org.
Okay.
Go there.
Antennaweb. Do I need to like mount something outside, or are they
AntennaWeb.org will make those recommendations for you. Put in your zip code, put in your address if you want, and they will tell you similar stuff as like what you saw. Like you should get these channels. This is the direction you should point your antenna. These channels you'll need to mount an outside antenna to get. These channels you can get pretty reliably with an inside antenna. It's run by this Consumer Electronics Association. It's exactly for what you're doing.
That is awesome. I am totally looking at it right now. Yeah, dude, absolutely. It looks like I got, it's got red, blue, and violet. I don't know what any of these mean.
I don't remember off the top of my head what that means, but yeah, so that means your reception level for some of them, I think. Another way to protect yourself, Brian, is a VPN that will allow you to spied upon, and that's our other sponsor for today. ProXPN, global virtual private network operator, works with almost any internet connection, secure, encrypted tunnel. I was using it on vacation at the airport. I was like, I don't know who's on this network at this airport. Darren Kitchen might be here. I don't know. Shannon Morse might be snooping packets. I don't want to risk that.
You know what I've done is I've actually just installed it on all of my systems. And so like by default, as soon as they power on, they go ahead and they encrypt. And I forget that it's even on there, right? There might be like one moment, because obviously when you're going through an encrypted channel, there's more steps. And so you might not get as fast of service, for certain things. But like for surfing and all that stuff, it was so fast. In fact, I went live the other day, started broadcasting live stream, didn't even realize I was doing an encrypted signal the entire time. That's how fast the Pro XPN is. And if there ever is a time that it's like, I'm like, no, I need my full bandwidth, full stop, then, it's super easy. It's one click to turn it on, one click to turn it off. You see the little green light that says, Time Warner, don't know what my bits are doing. And that's the way I like it.
Exactly. You can choose from different geographically located servers to maybe find one that's the fastest for you. They have servers in the UK, in the US, in Asia, other places. They got one in Canada, I know. It protects yourself against packet sniffing. It works via OpenVPN or PPTP. I set it up on my phone. Works on my phone. I can use it on my phone as well.
I totally need to do that. Brilliant.
Keep your personal internet personal. Makes your internet region-free. Nobody can see what you're doing. Nobody should see what you're doing. World-class customer support. Steve Gibson, Security Now, gave it a great review. That convinced me. Go to proxpn.com/twit for more information and to sign up. ProXPN premium accounts, normally $9.95 a month or $74.95 for an entire year, which isn't bad, but we've got a special offer that's even better. Use the code FR20 to receive 20% off for the lifetime of your account. That's less than $5 a month on the yearly plan. And if you're not satisfied, if for some reason you don't like it, you can cancel within 7 days for a full refund. So there's no reason not to try it out. Go to proxpn.com/twit, sign up with the code FR20, and show your support for Framerate. We thank ProXPN for their support of Framerate. VPN, it's the tool of the cord cutter today. proxpn.com/twit, FR20. Let's move on to Film Fact. The Guild is over. No more Guild, apparently. The 6th season is it. Not to spoil anything, but the last episode kind of had a final feel to it, and paid content. Got on the horn with Felicia Day, and she said, if I woke up with an amazing idea for a season 7, then booyah, I would have done it. But 6 years of one show, that's more than most shows ever get. It was such a peaceful decision that I knew it was the right one. So one of the stalwarts, one of the pioneers of web video coming to a close. That's kind of a mile marker in itself right there.
Well, and it maybe is a smart thing, because she's saying like, man, 6 years is a long time for a show. I think it's time to, let's wind it up and move on to the next thing. And then I'm thinking like, man, Scam School's in its 6th year, and I wasn't planning to start. Like, should I be stopping Scam School right now? Am I stuck in the past? Am I squeezing blood out of a stone at this point?
But no, it's the difference between reality television and scripted television, right? You're essentially, I don't want to damn you with that kind of praise, but you're not doing a sitcom. You're not doing a drama. And those
I'm not
shows
telling a story with arcs. Yeah.
Yeah. Those shows do tend to last longer. She's saying for scripted shows, six seasons is actually pretty long, and she's right.
Well, and she also has a ton of other stuff going on. It's not like she's retiring from the public eye or anything. No, I mean, she's got a lot of other things going on. So get off her back. She doesn't need to be making you Guild episodes all the time. Just let her have a nap once in a while.
Play the hit. Oh wait, no, that's not what. It's a milestone. I keep saying mile marker when I mean milestone. Apologize for that. Another milestone is a new Star Trek series. Now, I know we've talked about these a lot. In fact, I think we've talked about this one before. Star Trek Continues is a new show. They've got their first episode out. They have 3 vignettes. It stars Grant Imahara from Mythbusters as Sulu. They got the guy who played Adonis or played Apollo in Who Mourns for Adonis to reprise his role for this first episode as an older version of himself. And it's really well done. Now, we've talked about Star Trek Voyages before, which is the same idea, recreating Star Trek with original-looking sets and props and scripts as if they're continuing the 5-year mission. This is a thing that the web has totally made possible.
Yeah, man. And I'll tell you what, it's gorgeous. It looks 100% right. And I wanted to show it off to my wife, but instead my daughter walked in and I was like, hey, Penny, do you know what this is? And she goes, no. And then I realized my daughter has never seen the original series. But this it's got the exact same feel. The costuming is fantastic. The fact that they're all rocking 1960s hairstyles. Very, very well done. And I got sucked in. I ended up watching the first 15 minutes of it. Yeah.
Christopher Doohan, James Doohan's son, plays Scotty. So it's the guy who played Scotty's son playing Scotty. Gotta love that.
Yeah. Kudos for whoever owns the Star Trek franchise for just letting these projects live, you know?
CBS.
I mean, yeah, that's also. Now, is CBS just universally awesome about other people using their properties, or is there something magical about the come and go of Star Trek over the years that has, just built up this precedent? Because I don't know.
It's something special about Star Trek, but I give CBS props for working with these people and allowing them to do it, because they could easily come in and crush all of this stuff. But they've given permission to New Voyages. They've given permission to Star Trek Continues. And these guys have been doing something called the Farragut Show, which is an entirely original show set in the Star Trek universe with permission. And now they've actually moved on to recreating the original Star Trek. And I think CBS realizes that this isn't going to undermine anything. If anything, it's going to help them sell more merch and more DVDs and more online downloads, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, definitely kudos to them for having the wisdom to see that. It's unfortunately all too rare for somebody to be smart in that way.
Couple more film items. Netflix has the spinoff of the movie Turbo. Now, Turbo comes out in the movie theaters next week, and Netflix will be running Turbo Fast, a series from DreamWorks based on the movie.
Yeah. So this isn't really, it's not a Netflix movie. This is a DreamWorks movie. Man, look at that. Look at that stupid poster with the patented DreamWorks smirk. Like, can DreamWorks just make one dang movie without that slanty ass smirk?
It must work.
Every single one. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Well, smart move on Netflix. And we talked about this before. Turbo Fast is going to be a very big play. My kids are going to watch the hell out of it. And they understand that their perceived value is based on how much people are using Netflix. My guess is they don't care if people are rewatching the same content over and over and over again, in which case the fact that they're catering to kids with original content is very, very smart, because they will. My kids are on their 8th lap on some of the shows that they're watching.
It's the first original kids show that Netflix has ventured into. They're also talking to Brian Grazer about another season of Arrested Development. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, well, and it's yes and no. It's just going to boil down to the schedules, right? Like everybody, it's amazing that the last one even happened, and certainly I think they got their value out of it just with the publicity. And I think that over time, and I think they said something about this in the article, that over time that people will warm to what Arrested Development was this last iteration, and they're taking a long view of it. So good. I guess keep on talking.
Yeah, and remember, Netflix has taken some heat in the investing community over the fact that they won't allow people to know how many times their shows have been watched. But Netflix says we don't really care how many times they've been watched. What we care about is who's watching them and whether those people keep their subscriptions. And so they must have had enough people watch Arrested Development, whether it was a big number or not, that were key that they targeted with this show to make it worth their while to talk about a second season. I thought we were just going to go Arrested Development movie, and then that would be the end of the franchise. But apparently not. Apparently we might get more of the Bluths.
I'd be okay with that.
I don't know if they can get the whole cast together, though. That was one of the reasons they did this season the way they did, which a lot of people didn't like with those intersecting storylines, is that they couldn't get everybody on set that often all at once.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely optimistic that it'll actually happen. But if it does, it'd be great to get another. I would be all on board. I think Netflix is doing great with all the originals.
Yeah.
So, hey man, how do you want to explain what we're about to do? Because the overarching idea was that when we first started this show,
and a host love each other very much.
When we first started this, it was really hard to dig up stories, and we were thrilled once we were like, wow, man, I think we have 5 whole stories for Tube Tops or whatever. But now, as this bubble expands and we, think that we're conquering the world, whether we are or we aren't, now all of a sudden we're just maggoty with stories, and we don't want to cut them because there's lots of good ones. And so we came up with a way to plow through a bunch of stuff really quick. You want to set this up for us, Tom?
Yeah, that's the idea. So we're not getting rid of the big story or Tube Chops or Film Film or Slipstream, but we're trying to get, like Brian said, get through some stuff quickly because we are blessed with more stories than we can report every week, which was not a problem for many years.
So we got to figure out.
So this is what's going to happen. For now, we're going to call it Quick Cuts. We're open to suggestions for another name. We're actually open to someone making us a little bumper to open it with even. Then you could name it yourself. But we're going to do 5 or 6 stories with a 60-second time limit, Brian. We both have 60 seconds. We're not 60 seconds each. It's a total of 60 seconds within which we will discuss the story.
Yes, and try to tell it as best we can. But then, but on the off chance that we get all wrapped up and we're like, well, I have to talk longer, we each get one extension. But I don't even think we're going to use it today.
Well, we'll see. Probably
maybe.
So Jason Howell, if you could start the clock. Here we go. I'll take the first one. Intel may launch an internet TV service that uses the OnQ name. That's GigaOM reporting the name only. They're like, we have sources that say Intel's TV service would be called OnQ. TV has come to its senses.
And first of all, and this is that they've got like a shell company that does a bunch of registered trademarks that they can use later, and they ran across OnQ, and specifically that tagline of TV has come to its senses, I think is brilliant because it's exactly what we were hoping to get from Intel from the very beginning. We said these are the guys who don't have a dog in the fight. Now, unfortunately, from statements we heard from Intel, it sounds like they're pulling all the air out of this, right?
Yeah, Brian Krzanich has been very down on the TV service. He's been saying things like, well, we want to be cautious. We're not really experienced at this, so we're going to take our time. We're going to go slow. I don't think we ever see an Intel TV service.
In fact, I was going to push you for a prediction, and it sounds like we're on the same page. No, even though OnQ and TV come to senses is a cool idea, I don't think it's going to happen. That's all the time we got for that one. Look at that. See? Forces us to move on. I love it.
Boom.
Amazon Prime Instant Video gets a deal with Miramax. Lets you Kill Bill on demand is the headline. Basically, the Miramax catalog, all those badass Quentin Tarantino movies coming to Amazon Prime. This looks to me like just another story of, again, more pieces on the Monopoly board being gobbled up. Is there any reason that you would go to Amazon Prime to watch these?
It's funny. My reaction to this story was to go, oh, right, I think Netflix does have a bunch of these movies. I should look them up.
Yeah, but you immediately thought of going to Netflix to watch them, right?
Exactly.
So at what point does there get to be enough parity with all these services that you actually, like, why would you go to Amazon Prime and not Netflix if you knew it was on both?
Eventually, it's going to be the originals. Maybe some big title movies like when Netflix gets to the Avengers, but eventually it's going to be like, oh, I can watch Orange is the New Black. Oh, I can watch Arrested Development. Oh, I can watch House of Cards. Oh, I can watch whatever it is that Amazon has.
You're going to get comfortable with a certain ecosystem. You're going to decide like, oh, I'm in the Netflix house right now. I want to stay here. And then that's when you'll have the discovery of all that stuff.
That is all the time we have for that. Beep, beep, beep. Netflix keeping an eye on the wider library with an extended CBS pact. After Amazon Prime started streaming Under the Dome 4 days after air on CBS, Netflix has now re-upped their deal with CBS and expanded it. They've added titles like LA Complex, 4400, CSI New York, to the current stock of Star Trek and Twin Peaks and all that stuff. So good news that stuff's staying around and that you're going to get some other things in there as well.
Now, CBS, were they playing nice with Hulu previously, or was there? I forget which networks were on the outs with Hulu.
No, CBS has put their back catalog on Hulu. They still haven't put currently airing shows on Hulu. But yes, you can now get Star Trek on Hulu.
Yeah, is that weird that they're taking more current content and splitting it? You would think that they would like score a deal with just either Hulu
that was the
or
big
Netflix.
Thing when CBS bought CNET. And I was in on those welcome to the family meetings. One of the big things they kept emphasizing is we'll put our videos anywhere as long as we can authenticate and monetize. And that is exactly what they're doing. They're saying, hey, Netflix, can you pay us what they're worth? Great, we'll give them to you. Hulu, you can pay us what they're worth? Great, we'll give them to you. We're not going to undermine our broadcast numbers by putting them out the next day, though. They're the farthest back on that, firmly believing it doesn't give them any benefit at this point.
And you just used your extension, sir. Next story. PlayStation 3 lets you... Yeah, that's it. That's just it. You have to watch.
How it works.
PlayStation 3 has YouTube updates that adds auto pairing with mobile devices. Basically, this looks like it brings some of the functionality, like the AirPlay style, sending your content to the screen to the PlayStation 3. Actually, reading this article made me remember, like, oh yeah, I never bothered to set up Xbox Smart Glass. So I finally set it up today. Have you used it?
No, I haven't used Smart Glass or this. I believe this works the way the Google Nexus Q worked, though, where it sends the information over and then the PlayStation goes and re-downloads. It's not actually streaming it over your network.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, the Smart Glass app I thought was really nicely done. I'm excited to have, like, again, it's one of those things where it's like I can't find the controls of the remote half the time, so I just shout, Xbox pause or whatever, but then, like, sometimes they can't hear me. So just having another way to just, like, beep, bop, boop, shut up, kids, would be awesome for me.
Yeah, I like this. Xbox, stop, pause, help.
Please, shut up.
Get me out of here, I'm a celebrity. All right. Following Amazon and Netflix, Rakuten is expanding its Wuaki video service. Now, here's the deal. Rakuten is sort of the Amazon of Japan. Wuaki is a Spanish streaming company, and they're expanding their video service to the UK. And then they say within 18 to 24 months, they'll be in all the major European places. In the UK, the introductory offer is £2.99. That's about a little less than $5 a month for life. And it's not just streaming. You can also rent or purchase movies and TV shows from Wuaki.
So because we are so self-centered here in the United States, and I apologize to all of our international fans, like the only way for me to make any sense of the story you just said is to cast all the characters, recast them as, the United States companies. So essentially, I'm in this Marvel what-if scenario. Like, what if Netflix married Amazon Prime, but then sold content for $5 and 8 quatlus or whatever? It's just like, I wish I could make heads or tails of how I should feel about that. I know what I don't know how I should feel about is the fact. Now, you'll have to clarify this for me. Is it definitely coming to TV? Is this a spec pilot or what? But we're looking at the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen coming to television. Like, I guess a pilot's being shot right now?
According to Angela Watercutter at Wired, Fox has ordered a put pilot. And what that means is that it has to be shot, it has to be paid for, and it has to air. They don't have to pick it up for a full series order, but you will see at least one episode of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen on television.
Now, I did not read the comic book, but I know that they tried to make the movie a giant action spectacular. What do you think has to change in order to make this work or be even watchable as a television show?
I don't know how they can do it as a television show. I really don't. I mean, the producer is apparently worked on Heroes and Smallville. His name's Michael Green. So Smallville was an attempt to take a larger universe and squeeze it onto television. Maybe that experience will help him.
Yeah. Well, and from what I understand, Smallville pretty much worked. And so if they could do the same thing on this.
Most of the time it worked.
Yeah.
And finally, The Verge has an interesting little article from the Pacific Standard about a company called Asylum, and their business is to create movies dedicated to filling in keyword searches so that when you search for Battleship, it looks like Netflix has tons of Battleship movies. They're not supposed to be very good. They're not even high budget. It's just supposed to beef up the offering.
All right, and understand the Asylum. These are the guys who brought you Sharknado and Mega Shark versus Turbo Octopus or whatever.
I believe they did Atlantic Rim as well.
Yeah. And wait, is that a real thing? Tell me that's a real thing.
It is a real thing. I think it's an Asylum studio project.
And I'll tell you what, this is the last story, so I'm going to use my extension. You just leave that running for a full minute. I read this whole article and loved it. I loved what these guys are doing because weirdly, they set up these rules. Like they're like, we cannot acknowledge that this is a low budget trash thing. We are not being postmodern. The only way this plays is somebody has to feel smug and superior to us, which means we need to play it straight the entire way through. Also, and at this point, Netflix is saying, hey, we need some movies that will fill in this area here that should look kind of like this, have a poster that does that. There's an honesty to this Ed Wood-like act that these guys are doing. I mean, did you read the whole article? Have you seen any of their movies?
It's the new direct-to-DVD. I've seen plenty of the sci-fi movies. I saw Snakes on a Train, which I believe was a silent picture back in the day. Graham Greene is actually in Atlantic Rim, by the way. So they actually get, name-ish actors.
They really do, man. They make it for $20 at a taco, and if they like sometimes they get slack for looking too much like the originals, and then they're able to turn it back and be like, you made a $200 million blockbuster based on Battleship. Screw you.
Extension is up. All right, let's move on to the summer movie draft.
That felt good, Tom. That felt good. That whole segment.
Yeah,
I think it's got legs.
I think we'll work the kinks out. We'll get a good name, get a good opening from somebody, and we're keeping it.
Needs a beefier bell at the end.
Is it done? Yeah,
you need
that
a buzzer or a gong or something.
Yeah,
you rock the Inception button.
Oh, there we go.
Inception. Yeah, there you go. You know what else has legs is this guy in the freaking movie draft. Back to number one. This was a big weekend. I don't know how I did it, Tom, but like we have had 3 colossal movie blockbuster bombs happen. After Earth was one of them. The Lone Ranger exploded and didn't do near expectations. White House Down did not perform anywhere near expectations. Like those 3 movies pretty much eliminated you and Cargill and Scott just like that.
Well, I don't see how Justin can catch you because the $42 million from Grown Ups 2, that's not the full weekend, is it?
Yeah, I believe that's the opening weekend, and Grown Ups 2 barely edged out Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim is at $37 million for the weekend. Grown Ups 2 is $41 for the weekend.
I couldn't believe that was the entire weekend. If that's the entire weekend, that's not good news for you because Smurfs 2 is probably going to make a lot of money. I still think you're safe. But I think Justin can make a run at you now.
Well, okay, so here's where we're at right now is I'm at 765. So I have a lead of 150 million over Justin. Still to make money is whatever is left in Despicable Me and Grown Ups 2. Keep in mind, Despicable Me was number one. Yeah. Despicable Me was number one for the second week in a row. Grown Ups 2, on top of that. And then whatever I get from The World's End as well. I mean, Smurfs Fever is not going to catch, and it's certainly not going to catch to the tune of $200 million. Which is what it's going to take for Justin to catch
but
back.
It won't do 200. And actually, The World's End is your safety zone because it doesn't even matter. That's just a little padding to make sure he can't catch you.
Yeah, that's my little end zone run at the end. Hey, one thing I want people to start thinking about is, do you realize people are already talking now about what a big summer blockbuster season 2015 is going to be? Like, there's some image on Reddit. Right. Like that's going to be the year that this game is going to be huge when everybody's going to want to armchair quarterback and decide how to play. So like we're working now to build a website that will let you guys play with your friends at home, and you can play, one of 2 different rule varieties that we'll have available on there. But man, is it always a lot of fun.
I know it is. I actually think I have a chance at second place because I still have the Wolverine and Planes, and those are getting a lot of attention. They're getting a lot of looks. I saw the Wolverine and Planes trailer before Pacific Rim this weekend, and people reacting positively. It's being pitched as the successor to Cars.
Yes. Well, and they even say it's like from the world of Cars. Like I think it's weird because it's a Disney, not Pixar production, but it's implying that it's in a Pixar world, which is interesting. That could be huge for you, man.
All right, this week, Turbo, that's Sarah's movie. And later on, a couple days later, Scott Johnson has Red 2. So if you want to see movies in the draft, those are coming out. Shall we then talk about what we're watching?
What we're watching.
You've been watching one thing, haven't you?
I sure have. I've been watching a lot of Orange is the New Black. It's good. It's good. Like I wrap my mind around the world. It's very sticky. Like you go back to it, and it does a believable job of creating of telling multiple stories with lots of flashbacks and flash forwards. You find out where people ended up in their dark place when they went to prison. Who people were before they became these hardened. We'll say, I'm using air quotes, hardened criminals. And it's I like it a lot. I'm just going to keep on plowing through it, and I'll give you kind of my full digestion on it. But they have a winner. The only thing that's definitely a miss is they the one truly bad guard, and it's probably not a surprise that the correctional officers, are not moral upstarts or stand-up people. But the one who's really bad, unfortunately, they make him just a little bit of a cartoon to where I just never quite believe it. And it's distracting because it's like I want to laugh at him too much. So when he does like really nasty things, I'm just like, it's like looking at a puppy pooping on the rug. Like I'm just disappointed in him, like,
yeah.
Even though
you say no and you take him outside and
rub his nose in it. And
no, you don't rub your nose in it. It's a horrible thing. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't
and
rub
I'll
the
tell you what,
nose in his flat character.
Captain Janeway is awesome in it.
Oh, yeah?
Kate Mulgrew is amazing.
Awesome. She was awesome in Warehouse 13 as well. We went and saw Pacific Rim yesterday, and I have to say, I liked it. It's a big dumb lug of a movie. It's you just want to grab its cheek and go, you're a big dumb action movie. How can I be mad at you? How can I not love you? You have giant robots, you have huge monsters, and you have Stringer Bell leading the charge. I mean, what's not to love about this movie? If you don't want a big action movie where robots beat up on monsters, you're not going to like this. Don't go. But if that appeals to you, they are self-consciously being silly action movie, and yet there's some actually more complex subplots in there that had me guessing, even though a lot of it is totally predictable action movie stuff.
Well, that was my question, because all I wanted from Pacific Rim, and I haven't seen it yet, all I wanted it was to be that Starship Troopers experience, where it's like I went to Starship Troopers expecting I want to see people blow up bugs, and I was not prepared, and it delivered that, of course, but I was not prepared when I saw that movie for the nuance and the implications of fascism and there were so many other elements that were secretly smart in what continued to try to look really dumb on the surface. Was there any of that in Pacific Rim? Was there anything that particularly like that was really smart what they were doing with that thing?
A couple of things like that. Now, honestly, not that many. It certainly doesn't have that hindline backbone that Starship Troopers did, but they did a couple things where they're very obviously winking at you, going, "Yes, we know this is exactly what you expected, and here you go. We do it really well." But then there's some other things with a couple of the characters' motivations that you're like, "Okay, I wonder what's behind that." Maybe not fully explained. Not again. It's a big dumb lug of a movie. I loved it. You just want to be like,
right on.
You big guy. You're great. Let's move on to feedback.
Now it's time for feedback with Brian and Tom on Frame Rate. Oh, yeah.
Where do we start?
I'll tell you what, Tom, you were not here last week when we saw the first round of results from the Chicken Challenge. A lot of people ended up cutting the cord. A lot of people reported in their savings. Still getting a lot of stories. Please continue to send those in because they're exciting to hear how they go for everyone. But from Cyril, he says, "It's funny, I've been talking about at least cutting back on cable for years. Never had actually done it. Showed my wife episode 130. And we said, okay, let's give this a try. We called Cox Cable, and they pretty much called our bluff, and we're happy to cut our cable completely out from our bundle. So we went from paying $183 to $74, keeping just internet and basic phone service. That's amazing, man. A budget of $110 to spend on whatever content you want is pretty good. He said, wow, I had no idea. We have 49 channels free to watch. Some are Hispanic and religious in nature, but still that's a lot more than the 3 or 4 over-the-air analog channels we had as kids. I already have Roku boxes and Apple TV for streaming services, so I'm good there. I have a home-built media PC with 3 digital tuners.
Oh, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I know he clearly does. Says the only problem I see will be in the fall with football and hockey season starts. I guess we'll see. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saving $1,000 between now and when that's a problem.
It's only if you want to follow your local teams that it'll be a problem because they might get blacked out. But for football, you'll get some stuff over the air. So as long as you can get the channels over the air. Jason, I don't know how he did this, with aggressive negotiation with Comcast, cut his bill to $20 a month for high-speed cable service and HBO.
Well, cut it by $20 a month. So we don't know what he's actually paying, but he saved himself. Yeah, that would be remarkable.
Okay.
We got one more quick story here. Matt in Woodstock says, and I thought this was a really good question. I don't have an answer for it, but maybe you do, or maybe someone in the audience does. He says, as a digital consumer of many years, the one attribute that's needed is patience. My family doesn't need to watch the latest thing right now. We're fine waiting for it to show up in the later distribution channels. He says, with the number of options for digital consumers increasing at a good clip, he'd like to know when a film is going to reach a certain distribution channel. Now, granted, if the deals have already been struck. I said suck. Are there any resources to track these rights? For instance, if a movie is slated to come to Netflix after a 28-day window, or a show is coming to a month before the new season starts, I'd like to know that before I go out and buy the media. So basically, he's looking for, can I stream it, of how long you'll have to wait to get everything. And so he can make the educated decision of, is it worth spending $20 to get the DVD today, or do I want to wait 60 days and watch it for free on Netflix? That kind of thing.
I believe that Can I Stream It actually does. I'm going to try to find something that's not for sure there. I believe they do notifications. So, it's not in the I looked for something that wasn't in the database. But if you find something that's not out there, what's something that, Pacific Rim. That's not going to be on there. Okay. You can, I believe, down here, notify when available on these services. You can set up a reminder and say, let me know when it comes to Apple TV and Amazon, or you can pick whichever services you want, and then they'll send you a reminder when it shows up there.
Yeah, that's a little bit different than what he's looking for. What he's looking for is to see an either or. Like, either you can pay $20 for the DVD now, or you can wait 6 weeks when it will be on this service for only $5
the thing is,
or whatever.
That might be possible for some of those things that are set up for a 28-day waiting period on something like Hulu, but most of them, there's not a standard like that. Like they just show up when they show up, and there's no notification period in most of those cases. So I don't think there can be a service exactly like that. I think that's the best you can do. But thanks. Appreciate that. And thank you guys for watching. twit.tv/FR. If you want to find all of our episodes, we stream live on Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can email us, framerate@twit.tv. Let us know what you think of Quick Cuts. We'll talk to you next time.
Quick hits.
Quick hits. Cuts.
Smash cuts. What about smash cuts?
Super cuts.
Super fly.
That's edited. That created the same shot.